Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Emmitsburg's town meeting for the evening of Tuesday, December 6th, or that's my son's birthday, Tuesday, December 3rd. Before we begin, please silence your cell phones from any rings, beeps, and notifications. And at this time, I invite you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a quick note that Commissioner Hoover is not in attendance tonight, and Commissioner Sweeney is hoping to be here as soon as possible. He might be a few minutes late. And just before we get started, the Board of Commissioners will be holding a closed executive session following this meeting to consider the acquisition of real property for public purpose and matters directly related thereto. The authority for this meeting in closed session for this purpose is permitted by the General Provisions Article, Section 3-305B3, Annotated Code of Maryland, which authorizes us to meet in closed session to discuss a possible purchase of vacant property on South Seton Avenue. So that will be directly after the meeting. And with that, we are moving into future meetings. Do we decide to take off the second meeting in December?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so future meetings, January 13th, after the new year, 7 p.m. is the Board of Commissioners meeting. Note that we are meeting slightly later than that first week back because of the new year. So the first Board of Commissioners meeting will be on the January 13th. Planning Commission meeting will be January 27th at 7 p.m. here in the town office and on Zoom. All right. Are there any other meetings that I need to mention at this time? All right, hearing none, we are moving on. Let's go into approving the minutes, taking a look at October 7th and October 22nd and November 4th. At our last meeting, I did ask for October 7th and 22nd to be postponed so we could have some additions. I'm going to take these individually because Ms. King brought to my attention there was a slight typo in October 22nd's meeting minutes that we'll talk about when we get to that point. Trusting that you've reviewed the meeting minutes, is there a motion to approve the minutes for October 7th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 7th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? No. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 2 approving, and Sweeney and Hoover are absent. Looking at October 22nd meeting minutes, there's 2 slight changes, which if you turn in your packet to page 14, at the very top, commissioners, that where it says the vote count under absent, you said you wanted to have Hoover in there as the one that's absent. So just Commissioner Hoover is going to be added to that section so we know which one is not present. And then if you turn to page 16 for the vote count, under instead of 5-0, it should say 4-0. Do we have an abstention? Does that need to be listed as well? Yes. So, and then again, that would go back to Hoover. Okay, so that would be 4 in favor, no against, and 1 absent, Commissioner Hoover. With those changes, is there a motion to accept the meeting minutes for October 22nd with the proposed changes?
I motion to approve the minutes of October 22nd with the noted changes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 3 in favor and 2 absent with Sweeney and Hoover absent. Okay, going on to,
Commissioner Bowman Pollitt, Clark, correct me if I'm wrong, since Commissioner Turnquist was not here for November 4th, she cannot vote on the November 4th town meeting minutes, correct? And then if that's the case, then you don't have a quorum for the minutes. She was not present. And I think I've read that in the rules of order.
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
Historically, if a commissioner hasn't been here, they haven't voted on the minutes.
That would make sense
Right.
to me, but I haven't reviewed the rules of order.
Yeah, I was going to abstain
Mhm.
since I was absent, and then you're right, we would not have.
For the
Maybe we
minutes.
should skip November 4th,
are you,
unless we come back to it after
wait.
Commissioner Sweeney arrives.
Okay. I mean, we can.
I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah. Right. Sounds good. So with consent of the board, then we will be hoping that Commissioner Sweeney comes in. And if not, we'll see it at the next meeting. All right. Moving on to the police report.
Good evening. This is the police report for Emmitsburg of November 2024. For leave, it's 5 days of holiday / annual, 1 sick day. Training, special assignments, both myself and Deputy Honaker had a full day of in-service training. Then obviously the election day and the turkey trot from last week. No fleet issues this month. I'll get into more about the productivity in the next page. And then just calls worth highlighting. Had an assault early in the month that we're still investigating. Other than that, all the events in town recently, to include last night, went really good. And then for the all statistics for traffic, this month we had 12 warnings, 4 citations. There was 3 crashes in the town limits, 6 selective enforcements. For arrests, 6 total arrests include 3 criminal, 2 traffic, 1 warrant / summons. Had 20 walking patrols, 4 talks cards, 19 school safety checks. For the calls, 1 theft, 1 destruction of property, 7 disturbances, 7 suspicious activities, 1 noise complaint, 1 juvenile complaint, and 2 assaults. Any other questions?
I do not have any questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Just
Yeah.
one. For the calls for service, did you say at a prior meeting that was for the Frederick County Sheriff's Office?
So yeah, all the calls for service, that's for the town of Emmitsburg, but it also includes not us too. So if we're not working and a burglary goes out, that's going to be on here because it was in Area 11, which is Emmitsburg. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
But the traffic statistics and the rest statistics are for just us two. And then, but all the bottom is everybody. That makes sense.
Same thing for proactive enforcement?
Proactive,
Is that just?
no, that's going to be just us.
Okay.
Yeah, the only ones that are going to be everybody for the whole of all of Emmitsburg is all the calls for service section, and then the crashes up top of the traffic.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Moving on to the town manager's report. Ms. Phillips.
Good evening. This is the town manager's report for October. I'll highlight some key areas related to streets. Contractor blacktopped East North Avenue from Federal Ave to East Main, as well as the sewer ditch line or sewer line ditch at the creamery. Staff has decorated the Christmas tree and streetlights for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. They also pulled weeds, weed killed and mulched the islands at the community center parking lot. They also responded after hours, pick up a street light on the corner of West Main and South Seaton that was struck by a tractor trailer. The contractor completed blacktopping and paving Zanella Drive. Related to the park, staff repaired the fence in front of the first base dugout at ball field number 7 in Memorial Park. They assisted the contractor with installing the new 2-inch water line for the new bathroom concession stand project and assisted the contractor with winterizing the pool for the season. Related to wastewater, we treated an average of 604,548 gallons per day and consumed 277,430 gallons, which meant 54.11% of the wastewater treated this month in the month of October was wild water. We had no spills of untreated sewage. However, we did exceed the plant design capacity 6 days in the month of October. During October, we received 0.06 inches of precipitation. We only received 2 days of rain in October. At the end of October, we had a deficit of 2.13 inches over the last 6 months of precipitation. For water, Rainbow Lake at the time of this report, at the end of October, was 1 inch below the spillway level at 16.5 feet. You'll see also listed the well levels at the during the month of October. On page 27, water production and consumption, we produced an average of 277,115 gallons per day and consumed an average of 277 gallons per day. Meant the amount of backwash water in the month of October was roughly 10.6%. 74% of the water came from wells and 25% came from the lake. Trash pickup will remain on Mondays during the month of December. The holidays will not affect trash pickup. Just some noteworthy items. Staff assisted with the election day. The Rainbow Lake Pump House project is nearly complete. We're just waiting on the fence to be installed. Staff is working on an emergency disaster standard operating procedures for water and sewer. The contractor has begun work on the new clarifier project just below Rainbow Lake. Hydrant flushing was successful without incident the week of November 18th. Staff removed rock in a manhole in Brookfield after we received a smart manhole cover alarm, and that we just continue to work with the engineer and the contractor on the pump station project. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Willetts? Okay, thank you. From there, we're moving on to the grant administrator report.
I just made a few notes on her report. I'll just highlight a few of the areas, and then if you have any questions. For the construction of the new bathroom concession stand, the building is being delivered on next week on December 11th. The 10 to 12 space Rainbow Lake parking lot is considerably behind schedule. It's not an estimated completion until February of 2025 now. Hall Street continues to move forward. I think that's the only notes that I really had on hers. The Rainbow Lake Trail improvements is going very well. And that's all the updates I have, if you have any questions.
Commissioner Hagan.
I just had one. I know that the state has a community garden grant. Have we looked into that to see if
We applied for a Sustainable Maryland grant to add a water line and a shed to the community park garden.
Okay.
Any other questions? Nope. All right, thank you, Ms. Willetts. And moving on, once again, to Ms. Willetts, Town Operations Specialist Report.
Okay, just highlight the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you to everybody that participated. The town raised $1,142 that has been donated. She and Ms. Houseman worked the turkey trot on Thanksgiving. Unfortunately, the weather kind of hindered it, but they had a good turnout. She's working on the emergency preparedness plan, emergency action plan. which we will bring forth to the board. The emergency action plan has to be adopted by the board every 5 years. So we are hoping to bring that to the board in January. We are working with the town planner on vacant property ordinance. That'll be forthcoming probably in the spring. She has another meeting with the mayor and churches and nonprofits in January. And then we are hoping to have a presentation to the board in January, an overview of the Main Street program and presentation with all the requirements.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions regarding that report?
No.
Nope. Okay, clipping right along. Thank you, Ms. Willetts. Town planners report.
Good evening. This is the town planners report from November. During the month of November, we assisted applicants with zoning permit applications and processed 5 zoning permit applications. 2 of them are for a new business called Cracks and Fix. It's at 101 Silo Hill Road. I'll move down to development updates. Federalstone has made a lot of progress and they've been passing all their bi-weekly county inspections. For Mount St. Mary's University's nursing school or School of Health Profession, we're awaiting their as-builts. RKNK did some inspections on their lights in November and they did an recommended documentation on the as-builts. I'll move to the second page to North Season Avenue Green Street project. Revised plans are being reviewed. Street light plans are in progress. And notably under development pipeline is that a developer is planning to submit a forest conservation plan, final subdivision plan and improvement plans for Brookfield 5 phase 5 for 10 homes. So we should be receiving that soon. Stormwater management, tree planting took place in the month of November, and that's going to count towards our MS4 credits. The Planning Commission met on November 25th to discuss the comprehensive plan, particularly the municipal roads chapter. The comprehensive plan is still in progress, and we're finishing up the implementation chapter. Under grants, I'll go over the current community legacy grant. We received or the request for reimbursement was approved for one of the properties for this project, and we've been working with another property owner to complete their application. And for the IIJ DNR grant, we received a reimbursement of $17,642.84. This will cover maintenance. And I've listed the meetings that I've attended during the month of November.
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Nope. None for me. Thank you. I don't have any questions. Okay, moving on to commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Hagan.
So I attended the tree lighting last night. It was pretty well attended. Hot dogs, hot chocolate, and carriage house. Everybody seemed to enjoy. Think the kids got an appreciation now. The sheriff's capturing the Grinch and bringing him in the patrol car and everything. Everybody seemed fun, and lots of people commenting how well Main Street looks with all the lights and everything up.
Thank you. Commissioner Turnquist.
I am good, thank you.
Okay. I just want to echo what Commissioner Hagan said. It was a great turnout for the Christmas tree lighting and carriage house event, as well as all the people who braved the weather for the turkey trot. I know that was early, and we had a lot of people here on staff who worked tirelessly to make that happen. So as well as the Christmas event as well. So thank you. I also received several compliments on how nice the Christmas decorations are looking with the lights on the poles downtown. So we know that staff has been busy. I hope everybody had a lovely Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and a Happy New Year. And with that, I turn it over to Mayor Davis.
Good evening, everyone. got a lot of notes here to repeat, so I'm not even going to do that. But just thanks to the staff for everything they've been doing for the last month and all the special events, and the commissioners, who stepped up to make all that stuff happen. So it's great that we have a good team to work on that. You did hear where Brandy met, or we met with the nonprofits in town. We probably had 13 or 14 organizations represented. We're trying to do some things with having a community calendar and possibly some meals for the less fortunate that we're trying to get on a weekly basis. And we're having another meeting on January 8th with that. Ms. Shaw and Ms. King and myself met with Delegate Valentine, our state representative, and he's assisting us in finding some opportunities to help fund some of our water upgrade projects. So we had some meetings with him, and we'll be submitting grants and some other things to help with that. Speaking of the state, he also advised us that the state will have a $2 billion shortfall this year in funding and budgets. So we probably shouldn't be looking for a lot of help from the state. Not sure how that happened, but if we did that, we would be in trouble. But I guess the state can get away with it. I don't know. I don't know how that happens. And I will be in Annapolis on Thursday, attending the State of the Municipality meeting. So I'm really looking forward to that. So, but with that, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone. And after tonight, I hope to see you next year. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to public comments. We have 3 for tonight. Just a reminder that you will have a 4-minute limit when your name is called. If you come up to the podium, turn on the button so it turns red, state your name and whether or not you live within the town limits of Emmitsburg, and then just make sure to watch your time. Starting first with Mr. Jack Dethridge.
Jack Dethridge, live in Emmitsburg. I'd like to expand the garden on Cedar Avenue. I'd like to go out to the first utility pole as you come through the entrance, the nearest utility pole. I've got a number of people that want to get involved in it next year. The library is expanding their STEM program. So I'd like to use that new space more for the library than anything else. And then the stuff we've already got developed, we can use for the people that want to get in it on their own. And I'm dumping money into it already. So if you have any questions, if not, that's it for me. So.
I know this is, did you need us to follow up with that at all?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's up to the town
As far
how
as what
far
the
I
next
go.
steps might be.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The expansion, is that when you pull into the little gravel area?
Yeah.
To the right of that, expand it to the right of that little pull
Yeah.
in?
Go as you pull in that utility, those 2 utility poles on the right. I want to come from the current garden out to the
Okay.
pole
Right where
nearest
the
to
gravel
end.
entrance is.
Yeah, I don't want to go clear to the entrance, but to that pole. That leaves
Okay.
plenty of room for people to park and do anything else. If the town has an event and it overflows, there's plenty of places to park there. And everything we're doing, short of the town getting grant for a shed, everything can be knocked down in a day and hauled off of there. So the town can take it back and do whatever they want with it. That's the way I'm building it anyhow. So, all right.
Thank you, because I know I threw you over to Parks and Rec too. Thought that might be a good starting place, but then I don't think we had the turnout needed.
Well, I didn't even make it.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
had
then.
RSV or whatever it was, and I wasn't leaving the house and spreading it around.
So I don't know if that would fall under Parks and Rec. It's more of a town.
I honestly think, so I just read the Parks and Rec's minutes and I think they discussed it and are supportive of it.
Oh,
I believe that's what their minutes said.
think so,
Sent them
yes.
to you, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so they were supportive of it already. They've
okay.
lent their support. So
Yeah, I hadn't
Um,
heard anything. So,
Oh, well, now you know.
okay. All right.
And Jack, we appreciate everything you're doing out there, but we don't expect you to put your own money into it. So,
Oh, Frank, I can't drink anymore, so I gotta spend that money.
all right, well,
I mean, a $45 bottle of bourbon every month.
but, just, we develop that budget, get it to us, and let's see what we can do with it.
Well, I'll do as much as I can out of my pocket, so when I need help, I'll ask the town, so, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, David Ventura. Oh, sure.
I thought he wasn't gonna show up, so.
Oh.
He was kinda-
Can we do a substitute? Oh, well,
I'm right after him. I'm just the next spot.
so you're forfeiting, or you're just gonna hand out things. Oh, that's very nice. Oh, you can still speak if you'd like. If he misses anything, let me know.
I'm definitely going to miss something. Good evening. Thank you for letting us speak for a few minutes. So my name is Andy Crone. I do live in town. I'm also the president of the Catoctin Mountain Football Club, the soccer club that's been in town for the last several months. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to see the kids out there playing and really getting a lot of use out of the space out there. We want to give you guys a quick follow-up to what our first season was able to accomplish and kind of what we're looking for the spring season to look like. So overall, we had 82 players register and play with our league this year, which was more than what we were anticipating. Over half of them, about 52%, were residents of Emmitsburg. So it kind of confirmed for us that there's definitely a need here to have a sports program to offer to the youth here. Just beyond that, or just behind that, no surprise, was residents from Thurmont, and then kind of multiple other locations throughout Frederick and some other surrounding close locations in Pennsylvania. From those 82 players, we were able to field 1 3- and 4-year-old team, 2 under-6 team, and 2 under-8 teams. Then in the URSL level, we had 1 U10, 1 U12, and 1 U14 team. So all ages actually were able to be represented from the demographics in our program, which was outstanding. We partnered with Smithsburg, Fairfield, actually built a relationship. We're going to be playing with Walkersville in the spring season now. We had the opportunity for our U8 teams to compete in a jamboree in Fairfield. 12 teams total participated in that. One of our teams placed second, and the other one came in 4th place. Out of our URSL teams, our U14 crew came in 7th for the season. U12 came in 5th place, and U10 came in 4th. We also did some surveying with our parents throughout the season, tried to see what kind of impacts were going on throughout the town to like local businesses and things like that. So we did a survey with 3 questions you can see on there. The first one, if they lived in Emmitsburg, how many times a week they were coming into town for practices and games, and which businesses they had visited or were likely to visit while they were here. And you can kind of see the breakdown. I won't bore you guys and read every single one, but we tried to include every business we could think of throughout town and tried to just get a gauge of how many times they have or were likely to go there. We checked in with some of the restaurants we like to eat in town too. So as we were out, we did ask, like, did you see kids coming in soccer jerseys, parents coming in? Did you feel like you saw a difference? And several of the businesses said they seemed to see an increase in soccer players coming in. So that was definitely a win. Again, looking at the demographics here, the average parents were coming between 2 and 4 days a week. And overall, the fields were occupied 5 to 6 times a week. And if we were hosting games, maybe even 7 times a week. We also saw an increase in families on off times going out and using the soccer goals, which was exactly what we were hoping for. We encouraged it. They were out there practicing with kids, getting them interested, getting them excited. One thing I do want to say, we came to you guys several months ago with this crazy idea of creating a 60-day soccer club, and we were able to accomplish all this. It wouldn't have been without the support from the town staff, elected officials, and the people that live in this town to show their support. A lot of people don't even have kids playing, came by during practices, talked about how happy they were to see the activity and see all the competition going on. So that was really great. We do expect spring to be a bigger turnout than what we have now. We think it's grown, it's catching on. Mr. Ventura, who was going to speak, because they never know if I'm going to show up or not. He has been working. He's a networker, a marketer. He could sell just about anything to anybody, but he has been working tirelessly to build that network even bigger for us. So our Mini Kickers Academy program is going to be twice, if not 3 times the size we anticipate coming into the spring and then even going into the fall. So we'll be in soon talking about expansion and more field space at some point, I'm sure, because we're needy. But anyway, we just want to give you guys a quick little update of how the season went. If you guys have any questions, happy to answer.
I just want to say thank you because this program's really brought the park to life. It's really nice to be able to go out and hear the kids playing and hear the teamwork and the coaching and just the activity that that comes and the energy that comes with that. It kind of motivates people to get outside when you hear the energy out. Everybody looked like they were having a great time. I really appreciate too you keeping our businesses in mind.
Absolutely.
And trying to promote them while they're here. Thank you for everything that you've done. I'm astonished at how much you were able to accomplish in such a little amount of time. And there was a lot of work and partnership from the mayor and town staff too. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Commissioners, questions?
I just wanted to make a comment. As a soccer player and former coach, I really like seeing the kids out there playing soccer and being enthusiastic about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes. No. No, they just gave an update. The question from Commissioner Sweeney was basically what was mentioned, and it was just an overview of the overview of how many people are attended and what it's looking like for next year. Okay, that concludes public comments. Okay, on to administrative business. Update on the lead line service inventory project.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to do a brief update on the lead line service inventory project. I know a second round of letters had gone out 2 weeks ago, I believe, around November 15th. That was the deadline. So just wanted to touch base of where we are and what the future looks like for this program. Just a little quick background. EPA published the lead and copper rule revision in January 21, which required all community water systems to submit an initial service line inventory by October 16th of 2024. It mandated that water systems must develop a lead service line inventory to identify the materials of service lines connected to the water distribution system. They set some minimum inventory requirements. Each overall entire service line, which meant not only the town's portion, but the homeowner's portion. So when you talk about sewer lines, town's responsible from the main to the property line, and the homeowner's responsible from the property line in. And we had to determine lead for both sides, galvanized requiring replacement, non-lead, and lead status unknown. The town complied with the October 16th submission deadline, as well as the November 15th notification requirements. We will submit an updated inventory to MDE to reflect additional responses received after September 30th to eliminate some unknown service line classifications. I know some people received duplicate letters. That's because after the September 30th, because of the deadline, they were not incorporated in the first submission. So I know some people did receive, and there was some confusion of receiving a second letter. That will all be cleared up. Service inventory to date, there are 2 lead lines, 16 galvanized requiring replacement, and 473 unknowns. That's basically either a lack of information on the system side or the customer side. Not only did you have to complete the survey, but you also had to take a photograph of your service line. The town will be required to submit an updated inventory and send applicable notifications in 2025. Our main goal in 2025 will be eliminate as many unknown users as possible by obtaining additional documentation. The goal is to reduce 473 unknowns as close to zero as possible. We are working with the consultant Arrow, and we've explored options on ways to verify service line material when records don't exist. And your 2 options are excavation, which is costly, because then you have not only the excavating of the line, but then you have to rehab afterwards. Staff did go with the consultant, and there is some new equipment out there. It's called Swordfish. It's basically, I think I explained it before, it's a camera system that allows us to see inside of the line to determine the make of it. The town will continue to accept and process survey responses. So please, if you haven't got it in, please send it in, send your survey in, send your photographs in. If you need assistance, call the town office. Jess is really good. She's been processing most of them and sending them over to the consultant. By 2027, the town must submit a complete replacement plan to MDE. The plan should identify the number of services that are required for replacement, identify a time frame and outline of when and how the lines will replace. So all lead has to be replaced and all galvanized will have to be replaced. And it's within 10 years. So everything will have to be replaced by 2034. And at this point, at a minimum, we have to do a sampling of 100 homes at minimum. And the average cost is going to be about $70,000 to $100,000 on verification. So the more responses we get, the less it's going to cost to the town. One thing that came out of the Biden-Harris administration final rule is that there's going to be new federal funding for the replacement, but there's also significant grant funding available for verification as well. And that grant is due in January, and the consultant is going to work with staff to submit a grant to cover the cost of verification on these unknown lines.
Okay. For the, just a few questions, Ms. Willis, for the unknowns, if it came in without a picture, I would assume the staff reached back.
They would have received one of the letters as well.
And said,
473 of them either had not completed the survey or they completed the survey without a photograph.
right.
Mhm.
And then if they didn't have the photo, were they asked again or
Yes,
no?
they would
Okay.
have received another letter.
Another letter. Okay.
Mhm.
And, so it looks like, verification would be a minimum of 20% of the unknown line. So obviously that cost would go down for the, like you said, the more responses we get in.
Right.
Um,
And I think from what I understand from the consultant, that 20% is for 2025. So each
Oh.
year we have to reduce the number of unknowns.
okay.
So yes, anybody that can get their surveys in with their backup information, it will help significantly reduce the cost.
Okay. All right. Questions, commissioners? No? All right. Thank you. All right. Moving on to the consent agenda. This item for consideration, reappointment of Jack Pollitt to the Parks and Recs Committee. He did email the town staff and asked to not seek to be placed back onto that committee. So at this point, we'll just withdraw. Do we have consent just to withdraw it from the? Yeah, okay. Thank you. And then moving on to treasurer's report.
This is the cash activity report as of November 21st, 2024. On November 1st, we had a cash balance of 8.6 million. Deposits for the month, 851,607. Withdrawal, 1.6 million. Operating balance forward, 7.8 million. The fund breakdown, general fund, we have $1,987,700. Our capital projects budget, $556,505. Our stormwater management, 1,128. Our water fund, 104,876. ARPA money, 2,486,762. Our sewer budget, 2,702,359, for a total budget of $7,839,331. Top 10 checks there in the center of the page. Do you have any questions?
Okay, hearing none. Thank you. This point, we can go on to the planning commissioner report, but was that kind of hit at the same time? So we're good to move on. Yes, okay. Oh, we can squeeze that in. We'll do a quick Parks and Rec report by Commissioner Sweeney.
Do you want to revisit the minutes as well?
Yes.
Okay.
We had a Parks meeting on November 19th. The youth soccer program came and asked for support for conversion of Field 3 in Eugene Myers Community Park to turn it from a baseball field into a dirt field to fill in the grass area with sod and all that to support more soccer room. The committee voted 5-0 conditionally to support depends on whether the field, how well they wanted more information. If you can get it back we're going to have a special meeting just on the soccer field for the parks, maybe this month or January. And they need information on who uses the field, what times, how many times got used last year, and if it, or in the last couple of years, how well it's used before they commit fully to the soccer field. Can I get that information?
Yes, we'll work on that.
They also, the committee voted 5-0 for expansion of the community garden in conjunction with the town staff and however far they can make it. Mr. Deatherage, you want to speak on the community garden? You already did. I'm sorry. I was late. I was at another meeting and a dinner, so I'm sorry. But I want to make sure I got that in. I didn't know if you got it in or not. But they fully support the expansion of the community garden. The committee voted 5-0 to, I don't have the meeting minutes in front of me, that's why I look on my phone. He just submitted them today. To support the efforts for the new trail system to be put in at the mount, but they do not want it connected to the Emmitsburg trails at this time. They want to wait for future approvals to get connected to the Emmitsburg trails itself. And that was about it. They will reorganize at the next meeting and do a president, vice president, and secretary, and all that stuff will be done at the next meeting. And we talked about the community, the new concession stand and restroom and community park. They also talked about the new parking at Rainbow Lake, which I see has started up there, and the rebuild of the Red Trail. So was completed will be completed in the spring of 2025. So that's about it. What we did, we had a good meeting, and they will be submitting a report every quarter now. Thank you. I'm sorry about being a little bit late for this, but I wanted to make sure I got it in. I don't know if the soccer wants to speak on the field or not.
They did.
They always speak. I missed that too. Oh, sorry. I didn't know I know you was up speaking, but I didn't. I asked you if they spoke on it, if they asked for conversion.
They didn't officially ask. They said in the future, potentially.
I was kind of like following that up for you.
I did.
Building it up for you.
But thanks for coming to the meeting, and I appreciate it. And thanks for the report. They submitted it to the planning and zoning, the same report.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I do have we also voted, he doesn't have it in the meeting minutes, for them to use the baseball above the concession stand for their meeting room if they can meet there, because the library closes at a certain time and sometimes their meetings run over or they don't know when they have it. But the space above the concession stand in Memorial Park is not being used. I think there might even be tables in there already and chairs. I don't know. They asked permission to use that. Also, they asked permission to use the extra shed there. I don't know if anybody uses the first shed. I know that Little League uses the second shed to keep the mower and everything in it. But there's another small shed from that to keep their equipment. I don't know what's in it now.
I don't know. I'd have to ask Jimmy. I'm not sure what's in it.
But they asked permission to use that too. I want to make sure I got it in. for their storage because they didn't get their shed in this year. So any kind of storage we can let them have their equipment and they appreciate it. And I think I got everything then for you guys. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And now that you're back, Commissioner Sweeney, we can circle back to the minutes because we didn't have a quorum to be able to vote for November's meeting. So at this time, with permission, commissioners, are you okay going back to approve meeting minutes? Is there a consensus? All right, well, let's just do it. Okay, looking at the meeting minutes for November 4th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for November 4th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions?
I will abstain.
Thank you. Any against? No. And we have Commissioner Hoover, who is absent. So motion carries with 3 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 absent. Right. It's a little bit like a choose your own adventure agenda tonight, Mr. Mayor. Sorry about that.
You're doing good.
Okay, moving on to our agenda items. Treasurer's Report, Planning and Commission. Okay, number 1, review and approve the design bid for West Main Street and Waynesboro Pike Waterline Replacement Project for consideration.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So the water line replacement project for West Main Street and Waynesboro Pike was the next water line identified by staff in our outline of what needed to be repaired, replaced after we complete the DePaul Street water line project. In the last 5 years, we have repaired, replaced, fixed 17 leaks on that section of West Main to Waynesboro Pike. It suffers from low pressure on the west end of town, and it is the scene of many leaks, and it's just awful. No other way of putting it. So basically, the project design, this project will replace approximately 5,200 linear feet of deteriorating 6-inch, 4-inch, and 2-inch unlined cast iron pipe along West Main Street, Waynesboro Pike, from the intersection of Fraley Road at West Main Street to the end of Waynesboro Pike water line. The purpose of the project is to eliminate undersized and aging infrastructure as the line has severe tuberculation that is causing a reduced pipe diameter and brown tinted water when the tubercles become dislodged during high force flows. This water line, as I just mentioned, is prone to water leaks. The scope of work is listed on page 48. Timeline for the RFP. The RFP was published on Emma, MML, the website, and Facebook on October 17th. We had the last date for questions was November 8th. Bids were due on Wednesday, November 13th. The bids were opened in the town office by myself, Mr. Click, and Ms. Shaw. As I mentioned, where the bids were advertised on the town's website, MML Classifieds, Emma, Facebook page, and it was sent to 3 potential contractors that we have worked for in the past. Project funding, as Mayor Davis mentioned, staff is working with Delegate Valentine to secure state funding, as well as staff is going to work with USDA for additional funding. We sent all the bid packets we can see on page 49, we received 6 bids. We sent the bids to RK&K for review, the town's engineer that we've been using on several projects. And they submitted their bid analysis and recommendation to award the project today. And with their bid analysis, based upon their analysis of the information, it is their opinion that Fox & Associates has demonstrated an understanding of the project and state of Maryland waterline and permitting experience to successfully perform the services requested by the RFP. Their bid amount is $206,095 and within 0.25% of the average of all three of the lowest bids. They do recommend awarding Fox and Associates. The town has a long-standing working relationship with Fox and Associates. They are very aware of the needs of the town and the current water line system, particularly on West Main and Waynesboro Pike. Staff does agree with Fox or RKNK's recommendation to award the bid to Fox and Associates in the amount of $206,095.
Thank you. Any questions?
So currently, we don't have any money in our budget currently for this project. We'll have to seek funding.
For the entire project, yes.
Well, for the 206,
For the 206, there is, since the board has opted not to pursue the water meter project, there is funding available to begin the project. And then USDA does cover engineering costs as part of their grant funding as well.
So how much do you think we'll have to pay for the cost of 206,095? How much of that do you think we'll have to cover out of our existing budget? Or is it not known at this time?
It's probably not known at this time. I don't know the speed of how quickly they're going to hit the ground running and because there's lots of contracts that have to be done. And then we'll know as we get further down the road of timeline with the state of Maryland's funding as well as USDA's funding. Ms. Shaw is out this week, but we intend to meet with USDA next week to get the ball rolling with their funding as well.
Okay, and then have we had an evaluation or study, I'm assuming yes, of all of our water lines? And this one is the highest priority at the time?
Right, so we did as part of the preliminary, we had a preliminary engineering report and environmental report done of the entire water system when we began pursuing the DePaul Street water line. I believe it was McCrone was our consultant, and DePaul Street and North Seaton Avenue were the top two priorities, and this was then your third.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any additional questions, comments? Nope. Okay. Okay. So you, Mr., are looking for, let me go back. Design bid. Are you looking for the approval of the design bid or approval of Fox and Associates?
Yes, I would look for the approval for the water line replacement design for West Main Street and Waynesboro Pike awarded to Fox and Associates with the specific amount.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the design bid of West Main Street and Waynesboro Pike water line replacement project from Fox and Associates for $206,095?
I move.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional questions, comments? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay. Motion passes with 4 approving and Commissioner Hoover is absent.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item number 2 for consideration, approve or reject the request from Mr. Robert A. Fritz Jr. to acquire a right-of-way through the town's property on Hampton Valley Road.
Okay, so Mr. Vitez, apparently we have the name wrong on the agenda packet.
I'm sorry.
I didn't realize that until right now. It's Fitez.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Okay. So he requested to acquire a right-of-way through the town's property on Hampton Valley Road to his property with tax ID 05170869. located on Crystal Fountain Road. We received the request in September and we've attached a letter that we got from him. So a survey and a deed of easement will be required as part of the process, and this right of way is needed to access a landlocked property to give him access to a property that's used for recreation. And I believe he's with us online. If you'd like to speak about it, but he's not. Oh. No, I guess not. All right.
You know, I spoke with Mr. Feitz about this, and it's a win-win for both of us. He will take care of the all expenses and keep the roadway open. It gives us access to our property up there. It's a fire road in case we would ever have an incident on the mountain that we'd be able to get into, and it'll help him out also for his property that, like I say, it's landlocked. But that was a historic road that came the whole way over the mountain to Kelball Road back in the day. So I don't remember it. No, I don't. So I think it's that old.
So just a quick question. So he's looking to basically put in an official road on top of the historic road or coming off of the
No,
historic?
he just wants the access, though. He would have a right of way to get to his property.
Okay.
We have another piece of property up there, the Fitzgerald property on the opposite side of the mountain. Is basically the same thing. They were landlocked around us, and they have a real nice road going up through there.
Okay.
So it's the same, and it just gives us access to our land also.
I think I need my reading glasses. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Does he currently have access to his property, and do we currently have a road that exists for us to get in?
No, the road is pretty much overgrown, and he wants to maintain that road to get it open so he can get, you know, I guess basically he's probably trespassing right now to get to his property. So he just wants to have a clear way to get there and have, the access to reach his property.
Do we know how long this is? Hard to tell for, well. It looks just this little tiny section right here, Mr. Mayor. I know.
To tell you the truth, I can't tell by the drawing how far that is.
Are there any, while we're looking at that, are there anything legal that we would need to be aware of if we're looking at something like this to protect the town and him at the same time?
Yes, so if you're inclined to move forward with this and grant the easement, I would suggest that in granting that easement, you do so subject to several conditions. Obviously, there's going to need to be a written agreement here. And I think just for sake of clarity, so everyone understands and we're marching in the same direction in terms of what our goals are, so we don't waste time. I think there are some things that should be included in that agreement that I would suggest when you make a motion, if you make a motion, you add as conditions for that motion. So just some things that I have here. I think it would be appropriate for him to prepare the easement. He's requesting it of the town. So I think that's point number one. It does need to be in writing. It should include an adequate description of the easement area. As you just noted, it's a little unclear from the drawing. Certainly that wouldn't be sufficient. It would need to include that he's responsible for the maintenance of the easement, that he will indemnify the town to the extent there's any liability, claim, damage arising from the use and maintenance of the easement, that he would maintain insurance, and that the agreement would include all other general terms that would be customary in an easement agreement. And then finally, just to formalize that he would be paying all expenses and costs relating to the draft, review, recordation of said easement. That would include, to the extent Ms. Powell and I have to review it, to the extent there are recordation fees, which I know there are. So just making all that clear in your motion, I think would set you up well for success and then lead to a hopefully solidly drafted easement agreement.
Okay.
And because that was a mouthful that I just said,
I was about to, I'm trying to write it all.
I
down
took
beforehand.
the liberty of drafting some suggested language.
Thank you.
Please ignore my embarrassing typo in the middle that I corrected. But what I just handed you covers all those areas that I just addressed in my remarks. So
Okay.
I would suggest, if you're going to approve this, that this would be the mechanism for approval.
So this would be the whole approval, the whole motion.
Yes.
Wow.
Right.
okay.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
I know.
Good.
It
It's good
is.
to have it in there.
I know
Yeah.
it's a lot, but had some experiences where maybe little vagueness in what we were actually agreeing to
Sure.
led to more confusion on the back end.
Sure.
It's
we-
just my thought.
Do we have anything like this that we've had in the past, or is this the first time we've had an easement request? Do we know?
I'm sure the Fitzgerald property, but
Yeah,
that's been years. That's been there forever.
Okay.
As far as easement requests, no, not in the
Or
near,
I'm
or
right
in
away.
the
Sorry. Whatever.
most recent past. It's probably a little bit similar to Lindsay and the sale of that property.
Okay. Okay. All right. Commissioners, questions, comments, thoughts, discussion? Is there any need to put some kind of timeline on this as as far as construction, or is that a moot point?
I don't think it would be a terrible idea. So this isn't just lingering out there forever,
Right.
to set a deadline for the completion of the easement. And ultimately, whatever he comes up with, whatever we review, it's going to have to come back in front of you for final approval anyway. So I don't know that I would want to, out of fairness to the request, I don't know that I would want to set too short a time frame on that, because obviously, your meetings are busy, more
Right.
things happen.
I mean, I don't even know if that's needed. I was just throwing it out.
Well, no, I
actually
mean,
think it's a good idea.
I think I agree. I think it is a good idea.
Mhm.
Because if you just approve it
Mhm.
without a time limit, then years later, someone could come back with this and a new board has no idea what's going on. And
Right.
so, yeah, I mean, 6 months, a year, I don't have a solid number for you, but I do think that's a good suggestion.
Okay.
I was thinking the same thing, 12 to 18 months.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, do you know if he had a timeline in mind already?
No, I don't, but
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, and I would imagine if he needed a little bit longer, that would be something we could be flexible on. But like you said, I didn't want it to hang for.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very good point to not just leave it open-ended like that.
Okay. So. All right. So we can add that as like.
Yeah, just add
number
that
4.
at the end. Yeah.
What do we want to say? 18-month completion? 2 years? I don't know.
I think 18 months.
18 months. And do we have to put in there like from the time that everything that he comes back to us is approved, or does the clock start ticking like right now?
I think the clock should start ticking now. I think
Oh.
we should, 18 months is plenty of time to get something like this done.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, Commissioner Turnquist?
Do we need the language right of way, or is easement sufficient?
Easement sufficient.
Okay.
And we don't foresee this, Ms. Willets, Mayor Davis, interfering with anything that we, as the town, need to access in the future.
No, I just see it as a win-win to have
Okay.
access to our property also.
Okay.
So I think it's great.
All right. Well, here we go. Is there a motion?
I apologize.
No, it's okay. I'm just gonna settle in.
That's what we pay you for.
Is there a motion to approve the grant of an easement across the town property having a tax ID number of 05-174406 in favor of the property having a tax ID number 05-170869, subject to the following conditions. That Robert A., is it Fights? Fights Jr. prepare a written easement and maintenance agreement to be approved by the commissioners for the recordation among the land records of Frederick County, Maryland, that the easement and maintenance agreement shall provide an adequate description of the easement area, that the owner of the tax ID number 05-170869 shall solely be responsible for all maintenance of the easement area. And third, that the owner of tax ID number 05-170869 shall indemnify the owner of tax ID numbers 05-174406 from all claims, damages, and liabilities of all kinds arising from the use and maintenance of the easement, and shall maintain personal liability insurance in the amount satisfactory to the town. And finally, all other terms customary to such easement agreement. Also, that Robert A. Fights, thank you, shall pay all expenses and costs related to the drafting, reviewing, and recording of the easement and maintenance agreement, including but not limited to legal fees incurred by the town in connection with the review of the agreement and any recordation fees. And finally, that this project is completed within 18 months from today. Please don't make me say that again. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Okay, motion passes with 4 approving and Commissioner Hoover is absent. Got it. Okay, that one. Moving on. Agenda item number 3, for consideration and approval of resolution 2024-07R non-residential payment plan for water and sewer connection fees.
I'll just start off and then turn it over to Mr. Adams. At the request from one of the previous meetings from the Board of Commissioners and a request from Christ Community Church, the town looked at the non-residential payment plan for water and sewer connection fees based off the 2020 ordinance that the board passed at the time. There was a resolution in effect for in 2020 that only dealt with non-residential commercial properties. I met with Leslie and Clark on this topic to rewrite the payment plan to a current resolution, and Mr. Adams took the ball and ran with it. And I'll let him explain the changes that he recommended.
Yeah, so the biggest change is, since we were looking at including, nonprofits that weren't covered by the last plan, it seemed to make sense to me, rather than have 2 separate plans, we have 1 separate plan, because the ordinance provides that non-residential projects can qualify for a payment plan if the board so chooses. So, why not do that? It's particularly since it seemed like the terms were going to be similar for both. So that's item number 1. And then some additional changes that we made just to make clear when payments would be made, lining it up with the quarterly billing cycle for water and sewer. Also making it clear that if, trying to find it. You see item 8 there, just to cover that if the property is sold, the balance becomes due immediately at closing, just to take that out of the potential headache down the road. I think that's really it. I mean, it is just some tweaks and some consolidating kind of two separate ideas that I think the board had. But if you have any specific questions, I think between Kathy and I, we can.
So
address
this resolution would replace the old one, so that one would be null and void.
Okay. Looks good. Any,
I think we did also remove previous version had a, there was a credit involved.
yeah, there's,
That
I was looking for that. I
yeah,
thank you
it's-
for, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Any questions, commissioners, comments?
The sewer. Item number 1, the sewer and water connections equal to or greater than 25. Is that taps or the, from that list,
It's taps.
taps?
Mhm.
And do we know how many taps are needed by Christ Community Church?
11 each. Oh, okay. All right, so we might need to adjust that number because it's 11 water, 11 sewer, so that's only 22. So, I would not be opposed to making that 20. I don't think you want to go any lower than 20 total connections. Yes, thank you for pointing that out. I did miss that.
I'm fine with that.
20?
20.
Mm.
Mhm.
Is it 25?
Sorry, Clark, I forgot to tell you that.
No, that's okay. That's why we do this.
Number 2, 25% deposit. Is that flexible if the applicant can't?
No, and that was in the old one as well. That's what the board had voted on in 2020. I think you need to have a firm, and we discussed any flexibility in the year and the interest or in the percentage, and we wanted a firm. This is basically what it is.
Yeah, once you have the plan in place, it is a pretty rigid mechanism. Otherwise, you sort of open a can of worms that could lead to unequal treatment, which is never a good thing.
Are you still reading, commissioners?
I think that's all I have.
Okay, I can't tell from your faces if you were in deep thought. Okay, any other questions?
It's just with equally quarterly payments, do we want to put a timeline how long this can go out on?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a number 2.
Mhm.
I mean, sure, they could pay it off early if they wanted.
I don't think the town would reject their money. No.
So in order to make a motion, we would be approving the resolution 24 or 2024-07R, which includes Exhibit A.
Mhm.
Okay, do we have to mention anything within the motion with the changing the 25 to the 20? So it's on record
You could just say as amended.
as amended?
Mhm.
Okay. And would we also look at reading out the resolution? Or no, does that not need to be? I mean, typically we read resolutions. I didn't know if you needed me
Right, I
to.
think in your motion, at the very least, read where it replaces 2020, resolution 2020-04R. I mean, you can read it, it's not that long.
I would just read the resolution.
Okay. So is there any further discussion before I go on to a motion? Okay, is there a motion to approve resolution 2024-07R? Non-residential payment plan for water and sewer connection fees, which reads as a resolution establishing the terms and conditions for the sewer and water connection fee payment plan for non-residential properties. whereas pursuant to the ordinance 20-01 enacted January 6, 2020 by the mayor and the board of commissioners, a sewer and water connection fee payment plan for non-residential properties. The payment plan was created, and whereas pursuant to ordinance 20-01, the mayor and the board of commissioners by resolution shall from time to time create and or amend the terms and conditions of the payment plan. And whereas resolution 2024-07R replaces resolution 2020-04R. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the board of commissioners of the town of Emmitsburg hereby adopts and approves the terms and conditions of the sewer and water connection fees payment plan described in Exhibit A as amended, attached hereto, passed and adopted this third day of December 2024.
So moved.
Thank you. Any further questions, discussion?
Second.
Is there a second? No?
I second it.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any against? Okay, motion carries for approving, and Commissioner Hoover is absent. Moving on to, looks like number 4 was withdrawn. So we're going on to number 5 for consideration and approval of the bid for the town of Emmitsburg sewer line camera project.
Thank you. As you recall, when we were doing the FY 2025 budget, one of the main things we wanted to work on in fiscal year 25 as far as sewer is concerned was the amount of I&I. One of the major mayor's specific projects was not only sewer relining, but to also camera our sewer lines so we can target the best lines, which lines are in the most need of being relined. So just a project description, town's responsible for maintenance, repair, and or replacement of said sewer lines from the property lines to the main line. The town is establishing a master plan for future sewer relining projects. The intent of this project is to document any root blockage, structural integrity and failure, cracks or punctures in the pipes, corrosion, uneven or unaligned pipes, excessive grease buildup, hidden leaks, bellied sections, root growth, and damaged lines. A timeline, we put the RFP out on September 18th of 2024 on eMaryland Marketplace, MML website, and Facebook. Deadlines were due on October 25th at 5 p.m. They were opened by Mr. Brantner, Mr. Young, and Ms. King. And this project would be solely funded by town funds. This project is very important to continue to reduce the amount of I&I. It's going to be used in conjunction with the smart manhole covers to address the most concerning areas first that are in need of relining. On page 61, you'll see the town. We received 2 bids for this project. The bids were very specific. We wanted the cost broken out between lateral connections of the 4-inch and the 6-inch, and then as well as the actual lines themselves, the 6, 8, 10, 12. We do not have any 15, as well as any needed traffic control. It's based off of linear feet. The way this is going to go, if the board approves this project, then based off the smart manhole data that we have, as well as staff recommendation, the contractor would be asked to provide an estimate for a particular area, and those projects then that would be their project. We don't look to do the entire town cammering it. 1, we've done a lot of relining already. 2, we have some smart manhole covers. So it would be project specific. Ms. King reached out to several references for both companies. Both companies had favorable references. However, in reviewing the bid and total cost, the town staff would recommend Rybold Construction Technologies as the project or the contractor for the sewer line cammering.
So does it say what the actual total cost is going to be?
No, because each line is going to be different depending on how many lateral connections. If it's a line that runs through a field,
Yeah.
there's not going to be any lateral connections. It's going to depend on the size of the line as well.
Mhm.
That's why we would say, just for example, we want you to camera, I don't know, Mountain View Road,
Mhm.
for example. And then they would go out and estimate, here's the number of linear feet. This is how many laterals there are. This is what the size of the line is. This is going to be the estimate to do that section of roadway. And then that would be either acceptable or not acceptable based off of this pricing. So this price would lock them into this pricing.
I see. And did it, I'm sorry, you might have already said this. Was there a budget that we've already allocated that we're trying to stay within? So
We, give me 1 second, I pulled the budget up and tell you how much we have set aside for cameraing, but we also have set aside money for sewer relining. Give me 1 second.
And while she's looking for that, with this project, after it's completed and we have the relining done, it'll be saving us money every day because, in some of our reports, we're getting as much as 60% of wild water that's going through the sewer plant that doesn't need to be treated. So this is going to eliminate that extra water going through the plant and save us on chemicals and what have you. So it'll save us a lot of money over time.
Mhm. Mayor Davis, can you explain, so I understand, how the camera for the sewer line will prevent wild water from going through the pipe?
What this does, it takes a picture of the lines and it'll show us where we have lines that are cracked or where we have wild water coming in. The one place we really think is a line coming down Fraley Road over to West Main Street. We think that's a bad line there. So they'll be able to run this camera through and see if there's wild water coming into that line or whether we have a line collapsed or,
From damage.
from damage. And that way, when it's raining, all that groundwater is just going right into that pipe and then onto the sewer plant. So it'll eliminate that. It'll show us where we have to make those repairs.
For FY25, we budgeted 100,000.
Thank you.
For the
Is
camera.
that both of them?
Huh?
Just the camera, or is that both?
No, that was just cameraing. Sewer relining in FY24, we budgeted 125, and then in FY25, we budgeted 75,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the past, we were just kind of taking a wild shot at where we thought there could be water coming in, like along the streams and things like that. This will give us a definite of where we need to do the replacements.
So it sounds like you have flexibility over targeting which lines so that you're able to stay within that budget and.
Correct.
Yeah.
And those smart manhole covers that the board has approved it's producing invaluable information. That's even another tool to help us say, this is the area we want to look at based off the alarms that we're receiving.
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you. Commissioners, questions, comments?
It'll show them exactly where to fix them, where the repair needs to be done, so they don't have to keep looking for it. Saves a lot of money.
Yeah, can our motion include the 100K budget that's available, and that if it's going to exceed that, it come back for board approval?
Yeah.
If you need more, we'll come back.
Yeah. Okay. Would you like to make a motion?
Sure.
Commissioner Hagan, I didn't know if you had any questions. Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the bid for Rebold Construction Technologies for camera footage of sewer lines. The existing budget is 100,000. And if it goes above that, then it will come back to the board for additional monies.
Is that sufficient? No? Yes. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries for approving and Commissioner Hoover is absent. Uh, Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 6 for consideration approval of the Emmitsburg RUS Bulletin 1780-27 loan resolution for Creamery Road pump station.
Thank you. So this is a requirement of, for the town to be able to close their loan on the Creamery Road Pump Station. Just a quick reminder, the Creamery Road Pump Station was funded through USDA, $1.987 million loan, as well as additional grant fundings as a requirement of the project. The town, and then the town match of $1.4 million. So the town had to expend all of its match first. Then you moved on to the loan. The town has expended all of the loan funds for $1.987 million. If you recall, the interim financing was done by CoBank. The way that it works is the town receives the money from CoBank for this loan to draw down on through the project. Once all that money's been expended, we have to close the loan with CoBank, and then USDA pays that loan, and then we begin paying USDA. So this is a formality document that authorizes a resolution of the mayor and board of commissioners of the town authorizing and providing for the incurrence of indebtedness. Basically, you agree, we're going to pay down the CoBank loan, we're going to close that, and we're going to accept the USDA loan. The USDA loan will close on, everything has to be electronically signed by December 13th, but it'll officially close on December 19th. This is just a requirement of USDA.
Okay. Thank you. Questions? Comments? Is there a motion? Is there a motion to approve Emmitsburg RUS Bulletin 1780-27 loan resolution for the Creamery Road pump station?
You state the amount. It's on page 63. 1,987,000.
1,970,000. What did you say?
1,987,000.
1,987,000.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4 in approval. Commissioner Hoover is absent. Okay, and with that, we have to set the agenda and then we move to closed session. We're looking at setting the agenda for our next meeting, January 13th.
Yes, I have several items. Number 1, for administrative business will be the announcement of 2024 Holiday House and Business Decorating Contest. Agenda items, number 1 would be the FY 2024 audit presentation. Number 2 will be approval of ordinance 25-01 to amend Title 16, Chapter 16.20, improvements, minimum requirements for storm drain pipes for consideration. For consideration, approval of Town of Emmitsburg Emergency Action Plan. And finally, presentation on the Maryland Main Street Program.
Perfect.
I have a couple questions whenever you're ready.
Sure, go for it.
For the audit, can we get hard copies of that? Like
Yes, I
several
think-
times, several weeks or so before the meeting.
I think they're done now. I will get with Kim tomorrow.
Okay, and then we were gonna get back together, I guess probably at a workshop to talk about tap fees.
So I actually have for your second meeting in January, I had your student housing and your rental registration program, as well as your discussion related to the FY 26 water rates. But if you guys can decide what you want to do, but I know the student housing and the rental registration program was postponed.
Is the audit presentation, is that just the initial or just
Just a presentation.
just the presentation? Okay. Um, how much do you think we can fit in one workshop? Wait, the second one was going to be a meeting or a workshop?
Workshop.
Workshop.
Oh, you guys can decide. That's just my recommendation. You guys can pick what you want to do.
Student housing is in February.
No, that was,
January. I mean, that's
I
just
don't-
my recommendation. You guys can decide what you want to do. I just know I had it on my list that it needed to be done.
oh, well, I think
You have it. Because you do have an applicant.
we do.
Mhm.
At the same time, we also have the water rates that we're trying to hammer up. Wonder how much we can do.
I mean, I think November 4th, I mean, I was absent, but it sounds like
Let me look at the calendar.
the board agreed to keep the current rate in effect for FY '25.
Correct. They decided they wanted to have a workshop either January, February to discuss rates for FY '26.
So we could probably move that to March if we have to.
My concern was for budgeting purposes, staff kind of needs to know what the water rates are going to be so we can plan the budget. Because with the initial presentation to the board is that first meeting of May on the water budgets. So you could push it back to a workshop in February and then the public hearing in March. And that would suffice for staff.
Right now, we have our town meeting on the 13th. So the workshop would be sometime after. I mean, it can't be the 20th,
Like the 21st.
21st.
What day is it?
Is it Tuesday? Tuesday, January 21st. I'm fine either way.
So are you suggesting a workshop on the 21st? January 21st?
For the water rate
Yeah. I mean,
only?
well, wait a minute, because Commissioner Hoover well, he never really said an exact figure. It was just kind of, all right,
Yes, you mean for fiscal year 26? Yes.
right. So is there even a need to workshop it? That's the thing, because I feel like we already did.
I think we need a workshop. I mean, are you saying that somebody agreed? I mean, we didn't agree to
No, we didn't, but
a percentage increase for next fiscal year.
no. I just didn't know if it warranted a whole workshop or if that's something we could do.
Well, could we include tap fees in the workshop?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
In January?
Yeah, January 21st.
And then can we move student housing to February?
I don't.
I feel like we need to get our water down. Anybody, thoughts, opinions?
Well, if we're not ready to do the entire tap fee discussion, we could talk about tap fees for religious organizations or nonprofits, if we want to start with that aspect of it.
Okay, so we're looking, wait a minute. So now we're looking at the water rates for next year. We're also looking at the fixture rate
The tap fees.
and the tap fees.
Yeah, I think that was my understanding, is that we were looking at exploring
The fixture.
basing it off of usage.
Oh,
I thought that's,
yeah.
if you base it off of usage, your fixtures, that goes away. It's not a fixture thing, then it's usage.
Right. Okay.
Would you be able to present something that shows it both ways or come up with a recommendation? I know you thought that doing away with the fixture count would probably be the most reasonable.
It seems that's the direction most municipalities have gone, at least from my initial research. It looks like only Frederick County is currently using fixture charts. But that's just my initial research. So I think we've reached out to MML to get some more information. We just haven't heard back from them yet. So we can do an initial discussion based off of what we can gather by then.
So, I mean, is it possible to have the initial discussion by January 13th? Probably not, huh? This is right after the holidays.
Yes.
I'm just
Can see
thinking.
what I can do. We can put it on and then go from there.
All right. How long does the audit presentation normally take? It depends. Well, that could, that.
45 minutes, hour.
Alright, yeah. Do you want to let's just put it as the workshop then? I don't know.
Workshop on,
21st.
On the 21st. How about this, Ms. Willetts? If we are able to pull it together, can we put it as tentative for number 5 on, for discussion?
For discussion, the connection tap fees.
Yes. And if not, we can roll it into the workshop on the 21st,
Okay.
just to leave that open.
When are you doing this? On the 21st? As if you-
Yeah, I mean, and then we could hit the student housing then.
Okay. And move water rates to a February workshop. That would be enough time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
For the January agenda, just got 2 appointments to the Citizen Advisory Board.
Okay.
Carol Berger and Gail Fowler, Fowler.
Great. All right. Are we good with the agenda?
Yep.
Right. Is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any against? Motion carries 4-0. Did I say aye? Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Hoover is absent. And then we are going to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Oh, wait, I have to read this.
Yeah, you need to read the closing statement and take a vote to close the meeting.
Okay, here we go. Let me get my statements in order. Closing statement. We now turn to our final agenda item. The mayor and the Board of Commissioners intend to meet in a closed session to discuss the possible purchase of a vacant property on South Seaton Avenue. This is the final agenda item, and the Board of Commissioners will not be meeting in another open session after the closed session has ended. Pursuant to the Maryland Code Annotated General Provisions, Article 3-305D, prior to closing a meeting, the commissioners must conduct a recorded vote to close the meeting and make a written statement of the reason for closing of the meeting, including a citation of authority for closing the meeting under Maryland Code Annotated General Provisions, Article 3-305B, and listing of the topics to be discussed. So I will now read that proposed statement, which is we're going to be discussing real property. That's what it says. Is that it? The authority for the meeting. It says the same thing again. The authority for the meeting in a closed session for this purpose is Maryland Code annotated general position provisions, Article 3-305B3, which authorizes the Board of Commissioners to meet in closed session to consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose and matters directly related thereto. The purpose will be to get direction from the board on the possible purchase of a vacant property on South Seaton Avenue. Do I hear a motion to adopt the closing statement as read and enter into closed meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that means we have a, now we have to adjourn. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Regular meeting ends at 8:41 and we are now going to be moving into